Welcome to the Date Forever podcast. Keep your relationship fueled up with strategies discovered by couples and experts. Because at Fuel Collective, we believe better relationships will equal a better world. You are about to discover specific insights and tools that cost little or nothing to implement to help you date forever. And now, here are your hosts, a couple who always have a half-packed suitcase and a date night in the calendar, Sammy and Nathan Yeager.
Hello and welcome to a brand new week of Date Forever. In this week's episode, we're chatting about becoming the best version of yourself, difference between intentions and actions, and the magic 5 hours to an awesome relationship. But before we get into it, Sammy, what's been fueling you up this week?
It was my birthday!
Yeah!
Yeah, so if you have listened to probably more than a couple of episodes of Date Forever, you probably know that gifts are my primary love language.
Yep.
And Thursday, it was just like, ding dong, gifts, ding dong, gifts, ding dong, gifts, all day. All day
amazing.
I was showered in presents and love. And the best thing was that some things got delayed, so they kind of leaked over into Friday. And then I had a fabulous Mardi Gras pre-parade party on Saturday, so it really did feel like my birthday went for all of last week.
Yeah. You know we do have a birthday week anyway, but this one felt like an extra...
Every day was just showered in presents and love. And yeah, I got to see some of my most favourite people, which was really beautiful.
Yeah. Had a friend come to stay over the weekend too.
Yeah, I had one of my best friends in the whole world, interstate visitor, which was just like cherry on top of a really amazing weekend. But it's also really nice that my birthday coincides with Mardi Gras because it's just such an energy of love and acceptance and just being who you want to be. And it's a really nice time that I get to celebrate my birthday.
And that was going to be my feel up for this week too, which was going to Mardi Gras and just experiencing all the love and everything that is the love and acceptance of everyone that is there. And it was just really beautiful to be a part of that.
Yeah, it's such an amazing community, and even just being in that energy of celebrating love, it's infectious.
It really is.
Not in a COVID way.
Now let's get into this week's ep.
Today we're welcoming Bruc Sullivan. He is a keynote speaker and business leader. He is the author of Hannah's Christmas Gift, One Life Journal, and How to Be Your Best You. Bruc is a proven performer in achieving results in people for over 35 years. His practical, hands-on experience is based on working with individuals, families, businesses, and communities, providing education and opportunities for personal improvement. In a world where change is constant and relationships are fragile, Bruc will engage and inspire you to do what it takes to be the best you can be. Welcome to the show, Bruc.
Great. Thanks for having us. Nice to see you both.
No worries. So can you just tell us a little bit about your book, How to Be Your Best You?
Yeah, look, I have a theory that there are two times in life when you and I turn up as the most amazing version of ourselves. And the first one of that is at the job interview and the first date. When you and I first start dating, we're amazing. We do the work. We're patient, curious, helpful. We have moments where we even press ourselves more than the people that we're dating. Yet all the research says about 12 weeks into that relationship, same person turning up, but maybe starting to behave in different ways than the person at the first date, or even the same for the job. You know, on the first date, before you went out, you put running water all over your body and made sure you were amazing and clean. 12 weeks in, you're just going, just a degrease and a respray because we're just going to the RSL, so that'll be fine. So you put the aftershave and the perfume on, you just don't dab it on, you spray it into the space and step around in a circle. And then 12 weeks in, you're going, that's $80 a bottle, even at the Chemist Warehouse. I don't think so. I'm just going to factor and soda in for 48 hours. So the concept of the Your Best You is, what if the best version of us was the automatic version of us? That in 1/300th of a second when life happens, we have to be someone. And in all of our other disciplines, in sport or business and in life, we learn to do the right thing in 1/300th of a second. How do we do that for our character and who we are while we're doing what we're doing? And it's challenging and it can be hard, but it's a whole lot of fun and worth it.
Yeah. I really love this concept. I've heard of it in slightly different terms in that at the beginning of a relationship, you're the prize. And so it's this purposeful thought, I guess, to be the prize. But it's that same concept of like, early on, you show up and you're always the best self. You're like doing everything to impress. And then your standards do drop or do relax or something. So Yeah, I really like that concept of being the prize.
Yeah, and I think that most people are almost expecting it at some level. So I was always fascinated about, people start in a job or on that first date and you're this most amazing version of you. I thought that would just get better because you'd get even more patient and more helpful and more curious and more compassionate, more thoughtful and more respectful. Yet it seemed to be that the opposite was true. You would get less patient and less, you'd come home one day and your partner hasn't maybe just put the washing in and you just go, that's fine, honey. I know you've had a massive day. Let me just pop it in and can I get you a glass of wine? Is everything okay? Yeah, no, I'm all good. I'll be back in a minute. And then 12 weeks later or, 12 months later, I don't know what's wrong with my partner. They don't do anything around the house. Or, what happens in that space? It's always intrigued me.
Yeah.
What does happen? Is there a scientific data
explanation for it?
I think the one thing that at the beginning, this is the research that I've done over my entire life. At the beginning, we are so focused on our intention. I love what you said, Nate, about the prize, right? What's your intention at the job interview is to make a good impression and get a second interview or the job ultimately. And on the first date, it's the same. You've got a really clear intention. All you can think about is make a good impression, get the second date, or at least your choice for a second date. And 12 weeks into the relationship, you're not even thinking about your intention. So, when was the last time you pulled up at home, whatever home is, whether you're going home to dogs, cats, people, family, children, when was the last time you sat in the car and thought, what do I want to be famous for tonight? What's my intention tonight? And no one in the car would go, I'm going to go for cranky, nitpicky and unnecessarily perfectionistic. That's where I'm going to go. You would never say that out loud, but you just go upstairs and be, unnecessarily perfectionistic and ungrateful and nitpicky. And you're going, it kind of sounds absurd that you actually intend that. And the reasonable part of us would never intend that, but all of a sudden we think it's okay to go and do that. So if you were sitting in the car and thinking for 10 seconds, what do you want to be famous for tonight? I want to be famous for grateful. And I want to be famous for helpfulness. So I'm going to just remember those two words and I'm going to go and be grateful and helpful. And it would increase the risk then that you would go and be grateful and helpful the same way that you thought on the job interview or the first date. I want to just be patient, kind and generous. That's where I want to be. We don't remind ourselves enough about what our intention is. So I think a lot of it's coming back to every day setting that intention. What do I want to be famous for tonight, today with my partner?
So do you think it's I guess sustainable to be our best self? Like obviously we have to, like you said, we have to turn up as a version of ourselves every day. Is it sustainable to be your absolute best on point self all day, every day, work, family, friends, relationship?
Yeah, no. If anyone said that was possible, then I'd suggest that they go and talk to someone because it's just not possible without some maybe weird event happening in your life. And you can, like any other discipline, you would be hoping that 99% of the time that a nurse put a cannula in your arm, that they did it effectively. You'd hope that 100% of the time they did because they've just done the work. And, in an emergency situation, they can go and do that work instantly, brilliantly, every time. But that's still only for a period of time while you're at work. So to stay that patient, helpful, curious person, that's the default most of the time. And I say that, that's like going to the top drawer and putting your happy pants on. Do you go to the top drawer, put your happy pants on and go, oh, good, look, there's no milk in the fridge. I'll go and get some. Or when you go to the fridge and there's no milk in the fridge, you're like flapping your arms about going, am I the only person in this house who buys milk? Why didn't you text me? How hard is it, you morons? Like who decided the story? Like we are the author of our own story. So why not author a story that's going to help your physical and mental health and then be of service to others? So no is the answer, but it's possible to get to a point where you really just don't have to get angry because your partner didn't put the bins out. You could just go and put them out or take the rubbish out in bags and take it down to the local bin and stick it in the local bin because it gets picked up every day. It's the park bin. So I do say to people, going to the bottom drawer and putting the cranky pants on, just make sure it's worth it. Because if there's no milk in your fridge, it's not the ending of your life. It's just the ending of your life with milk and the beginning of your life without milk. But somehow
in this moment.
Right now, today, and it's a very short-term thing. It's like go and get some versus losing your lollies. If someone doesn't put toner in the printer at work, it's not the ending of your life. It's just the ending of your life with magenta and the beginning of your life without magenta. Go and put the toner in versus going, am I the only person who puts toner in this place? So if you're going to go to the bottom drawer and not be that best version of you, just make sure it's worth it. Because sometimes the damage is irreparable. Sometimes it's just not a good outcome for anyone. And even us, because you get the adrenaline, the free-flowing fatty acids, the cortisol dumbs down our executive function, like our prefrontal cortex, the most intelligent part of our brain, literally gets tranquilized when you're in the bottom drawer. Cranky, it's there to keep you alive. It's not the ending of your life. It's not like life and death is just no milk. Go and get some.
So, Bruce, I'm going to guess that you've got some ideas about how people can do maybe like a self-audit or something. But obviously, you've joined us on a show called the Date Forever podcast, and it's all about dating yourself and dating your chosen person for forever. So, obviously, there's an element here of dating yourself and getting to know yourself. So, how do you figure out what your best is?
I think that it's really good to start with the intention, to actually say, I want to live a healthy, happy life. I want to be a meaningful, contributing member to this partnership. I want to learn and I want to grow, and to be really clear about that at the beginning. And the clearer you get, I think, about your intentions for that, it seriously increases the risk that you will behave in a way. So, I say to people, like, you wouldn't write a shopping list. You're going out with your forever person and you've written down that you need to get milk, bread, apples, and porridge. It would be kind of weird if you got to the fridge down at your supermarket where the milk was and you went, oh, milk, and then you looked at your partner and said, well, we won't be getting any milk today. It's like, what? That doesn't make any sense. You said we needed milk. You wrote down milk. We're going to get milk. You set an intention for milk, and now you're saying no. So I can't reinforce the power of being able to set that intention, because most people are reasonably intelligent enough to go, these are the behaviours that go with that. So in terms of that self-audit, have you ever written down, this is what you want to be famous for in the relationship? This is what you want to be famous for in life? And the answer for most people would be like, no, never written it down. Kind of weird, really.
It's interesting that you say this, because I did this for the first time late last year. I wrote a list of sort of like 8 to 10 characteristics of things that I would love for someone else to say about me. And that reputation, like, who do I really want to be and what do I want to be known for? And I wrote down things that would make me like really blush and, just gush with pride for myself. And it was actually quite a, like an emotional kind of experience that I went through. And I was like sharing it with Nathan. I was like, imagine if all of my LinkedIn testimonials said things like this, or what if all of, the feedback on our podcast said things like this. It did help me get really intentional about the behaviors that I would need to then emulate to have someone say those things about me. And it's not about like faking it till you make it. It's like, I truly want to become that. I want to be that person.
Yeah, that's a good point too that you make on the fake it till you make it, because so many people say to me that going, well, that's just not me. And I'm like going, that's like saying that you have to wait to have a stroke to discover neuroplasticity, that you can't actually set down a new neural pathway. You're not waiting for that. Like tomorrow you can set an intention to do it differently. Will it feel fake? If you naturally go to the bottom drawer and criticize everything that everyone does, and then for the first time ever you decide to be curious and not critical, it's going to sound just as weird to you as it does to everyone else. So deal with the awkwardness with that and expect it to sound a bit fake and weird. But if it's worth it, it's worth it. Like,
it's kind of like the technique of deadlift at the gym. Like the first time that you do it, it's going to feel awkward and weird and uncomfortable, and you're not going to execute perfectly, but you got to start there to have that perfect technique.
Yeah, it's a new neural pathway. And certainly, to set the new neural pathway, we know the old ones don't go away. So you are stuck with the old one until you can set down a new one that becomes the automatic default one. And then when you've got that locked in and coded, that becomes the new one. The other one still lingers. You can still think you're an idiot and still say, oh, honey, let's explore that idea. Where can we go with that? Yeah. And so that might still be there through history and habit, but the new one, the new history and the new habit that you've created is there. And, particularly for couples trying to make the effort, and I think it's a really key thing that I say to people, if you've never, your love language for your partner might be acts of service, and so you've come home and you've decided to do an act of service and you go and take the clothes off the line, your partner might be going, oh, you're just doing that because we did that little course thing. We did that little podcast with those crazy couple. And, now you're just doing that because, that's my love language. That's a bit weird and awkward. Yeah, well, it's just as weird for the person taking the clothes off the line as it is for you to be on the receiving end. Go back to the intention. This person is intending to make some changes to improve the relationship. Oh, well, you just bought me flowers because, we had that conversation, or you just decided to sit on the couch with me and not talk to your partner, your other girlfriends or boyfriends because you wanted to talk to me. And it's like, well, maybe, and it feels weird, and enjoy that uncomfortable, weird space in setting down a neural pathway if you've decided it's worth it, because that's why you set the intention. It was like worth it. If you've written it down, bigger affirmation again.
So you have a really great TED Talk on intention, but there's definitely a difference between intention and execution, isn't there?
Yeah, typically. and that's when the human part comes in. Yeah. So, you go, I don't really want to because I just don't feel like it. I just don't feel like it. So the behavior bit, one of the biggest blockers to people doing it is letting their feelings dictate what they do instead of what's really important to them. So, my wife loves to run. She is the runner. I'd like to play footy. I'm still an old man. I play old man's footy. I'll get out there and I'll chase the pill around as long as I possibly can. And, they've got special groups for old people that we can go and do that, right? So if I'm like a dog, if there is a ball, I will chase it. You could literally, honestly, either of you could just throw a ball to me, like in a park. I will go and get it and bring it back to you. And then you throw it again and I'm going to go and get it, right? So Rachel loves to run and she just runs. And I never, ever, there's not one part of me that goes, oh my God, I can't wait to go for a run. I'm coming home. I don't feel like tonight when I get home, I will not feel like going for a run, but we will go for a run. Because what I feel like doing is drinking wine and eating cheese and talking. That's what I feel like. Quality time for me is my love language. A chance to have a chat and connect. That's really cool. A glass of wine. That's what I feel like doing. But what do I value? I value time with Rachel. I value the impact of that on our relationship. I value the impact of that run on my health. I want to live a long, healthy life so that I can enjoy as much time. I've got 32 summers left with Rachel. If I live the average age, how do I maximize that relationship in that 32 years? So instead of letting my feelings dictate what I want to do, I let the value dictate that. What's the most important thing? It should be the most important thing.
And I really like the practical example of, what you feel like you want to do versus what you actually want in the big picture. I think that's really valuable. We talked about the element of dating yourself, and then you just touched on your own relationship with Rachel. Can you maybe talk to us a little bit about your relationship and what you found works?
I think a genuine intention every day to coming back to the demonstration bit, to demonstrate our love and affection for each other. A guy called Gottman talks about the 5 magic hours. I don't know if you've ever talked about it on
John
your
and
podcast.
Julie, yeah. So for anyone who's actually not familiar with the magic 5 hours, I thought I might just give you a quick rundown. So the first one is parting, so giving warm farewells. The second is greetings, so having a debrief conversation together at the end of the workday. The third one is admiration and appreciation, so finding a way to compliment your spouse every single day and show them how much you love and appreciate them. The fourth one is affection, so showing your physical affection for 5 minutes a day. And then the weekly date, so taking some time every single week to spend time to really connect. So adding up the time it would take to do those things every day accumulates to 5 hours a week.
I love the 5 magic hours, and we by default just do the 5 magic hours every week. So, we try to ritualize some things to make sure, and it was one of the things that I put in our earlier conversation about how do you set up ritual to support your relationship? And it's the 2-minute goodbye in the morning. My God, our neighbours must be thinking, will you just go back inside to say that goodbye? Because really, do you really? It's like we don't want to drive past and see you guys saying goodbye. It's just too soppy and way too affectionate for the front yard. And, we'll have at least the 20 minutes when we get home, from work to have a debrief and a talk. And then we will go for a walk or a run together. And so we have that ritual and we have that opportunity to go and do that. Up in the morning, we get up, we'll do our yoga and have some time together. We'll sit and have coffee first. just the two of us. Children still sleeping as good children should do at that point. Well, teenagers at least, or young adults in that area. Yeah. So I think that we really do that. Like on today, on our work days when we're not together, we'll send ourselves a photo of the day. And it's a photo from our history, something we've snapped on the phone and gone, I love this photo because, and remind each other about the nuances of that. And if you do that 99 times and you miss one, it doesn't matter that you miss one. Hey, this is my photo for yesterday. I love you because I love this photo because of what it means. And that's, again, it's a ritual. So how do you ritualize those things to make it easy to remember? I think one of the things that we're working on is how do we get stuff off our kitchen bench that doesn't belong, that's like work or whatever. It's so easy. So how do we ritualize that in our family to go, let's get that can stay over there. Let's not have it in this little hubbub place where we eat and drink and chat and socialize. So I think that seems to work.
Yeah. I love that. And I think all those little rituals do make up the overall culture of your relationship.
Yeah, it makes it easy to remember. I think when you can make things easy to remember in a busy, crazy world where you can't remember what you had for lunch yesterday, that's right. I'm in a relationship. Yes, it matters to contribute to that. That relationship has needs as well. How do I satisfy my needs in that relationship? And how do I help, or how do we help each other satisfy each other's needs?
So you've obviously got these daily rituals, and you were talking about earlier that you've got 30 to 32 summers left on this earth. So it sounds like that you're really intentional about designing the life that you want to be living. So what is a designed life?
Oh, designed life. I feel like I keep coming back to the intention piece. It's like a whole set of intentions. And then as John Lennon said, life is what happens when you make another plans. Yeah. So there's that beautiful balance, I think. And, you think about last year, 2020, the two things I heard the most in 2020 were people saying, you're still on mute, Bruce. We can't hear you. Everything was on digital meetings. And the other thing, you'd bump into people and go, how are you going? And they go, we were going to be in Prague today. We were going to be in Singapore today. Like we were going to be somewhere, And so I think that everything starts with a plan, a conversation. Have the conversations. We're not going to be here for 1,000 years. We're barely going to be here for 80. So what's your intention? And, we talk about there's only two types of pain. One is discipline and one is regret. I don't mind the pain of discipline. I'd rather just work on the relationship every day. I'd rather make the effort in that space. And it has to be a two-way thing, definitely. Like I think there's consequences when it's not. And we've all lived with those, or we know people that have lived with that consequence. And the discipline, the pain of discipline, remembering, thinking, setting the intention, making the effort, doing the 5 magic hours every week of spending that ritualized time. That's a discipline versus the pain of regret, which is like, I'll avoid the discipline. I'll save that pain up. I'll avoid the effort. I'll avoid that. And then one day you come home and there's no furniture in your house and you go, surprise. And that's the beginning of the pain piece. So does that make sense? It's like doing that little bit every day. It's like exercise. It's like eating. Yeah. You do the ritualized good bits and it's just good for you. And it's good for the people you live with and work with too.
I actually really love that idea too of adding up how many years on average you've got left. I think that feels quite different than saying that you're 30, 40, 50, however many years old you are, and not actually knowing how much life you've got left. And I think counting backwards from how old you'll live to almost sets the intention for this is the life I've got left, this is the life I want to feel, and these are the things I want to do in that. Whereas if it's undefined, it's probably really difficult to actually, or a lot more difficult to really set that intention around what you want to be doing.
And I think we would spend 5 minutes to write a shopping list because you don't want to waste that 30-minute trip down to the supermarket. So you write the list and you get intentional about it because you don't want to come home and have regret. So why don't we take that same principle into our life to go, well, if I'm 55 or almost 56 and I'm going to live to the average of, 87, if I am, fate, genetics, the environment, I may not get home yet, like this could be the last recording of anything.
Oh, please don't jinx it, Bruc.
I'm not jinxing it, but it's like that's the stuff that's out of control, right? Yeah. And I'm counting on 87, but, I might get 2 or 20 or 30, I might get 50. That'd be awesome if everything's working. And then it's just worth it. I think that if you're going to do the shopping list, and so you don't waste that hour and have the regret of going, oh, I didn't do that and I meant to get that. And sometimes even if you're not a list writer, okay, 32, 31, 30, 29, 28. What do I want to do? How old will kids be? How old will we be? What are the opportunities? That would be a good year to do that. If we want to minimize this, if we want to do this, like just not just the things you want to have and do, but the person that you want to be. You know, I want to be the demigod of curiosity by the time I get to 37. I want to be the most passionately curious, helpful person I possibly can be and set the intention for that. Not just we want to have this car or do this holiday or have that experience.
Yeah, I like that as well. Just what are the skills that you want to master? What is it that you want to teach somebody else? Or, you know, what are the things you want to have birthed and created into the world, whether it's books or podcasts or ideas or products or, yeah, I think if you imagine the time that's left, if you had an hourglass on your desk that you saw the sand dripping through, I think it'd probably make us behave a little differently with how we do treat our time.
Oh, it is, because it's been my life. I did 12 years supporting people, in private conversations as a therapist and helping them make sense of it. And most people had all these regrets because there was a complete lack of urgency, or not urgency in a panic space, but attention to the intention. Does that make sense? So how do you bring attention to the intention? And that's where getting a good night's sleep, making sure you're resting, or that you're doing the best thing for your own physical and mental health, filling your cup up. What's your creative interest that really reinvigorates you other than just sleeping and eating well, exercising? Some people have other creative interests that, you fill up those cups, then you're overflowing. You can come and be more available to be of service to someone else.
Yeah, that's great. So then how do you take that vision for your own life and then collaborate with a partner? Is there like a fast five or something like that?
The fast five is, I think that for anyone who's listening to this who is actually dating, if you've got a partner that doesn't want to talk about this kind of thing now, or a potential partner, then I'm drawing a yellow flashing light to go in. You're probably
warning sign.
Reverse, beep, because I think is something that is so important for couples to be able to talk about in a non-defensive way, and then to be able to find out, as a couple, to talk about what do you reckon your amazing week would look like? What would be your perfect week at work? What would be your perfect week at home? What would be yours? Then, okay, what would we need to do to help each other achieve that? And the usual, life's always that compromise around, okay, well, how do I help you get what you want, and how can you help me get what I want? And that's that conversation. And for couples that get stuck on that, I always used to say that maybe it's a good chance that you can take a time out. Maybe this is just, you're probably only planning for 6 to 12 months with some visions for the next, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years. So be prepared to change. It's like, it may change. And if you're not getting what you want, instead of having that parent-child relationship, how do you keep that adult a bit so you don't, sulk for 6 months while your partner goes and does some more study because you go, well, I can't go to football because now I'm looking after kids. No, nobody wants to be in that parent-child space. That it's a genuine agreement. And once you've got the agreement to go, well, this is our plan for the next 6 months or the next 12 months or 2 years while you finish that course, great. Then how do I help you get what you want? Or how do you get creative about how else you can bring that into the space without resenting? And if you're not asking for what you need instead of resenting, I'd suggest ask for what you need versus resenting when other people don't read your mind. Because it's no fast five. I think it's just got to be a weekly agenda item.
Yeah.
How are we going? Are you okay? How was work? Have you had the perfect week? Have I been the almost perfect partner? Well, no, we know that's not possible. Ha, ha, ha. Well, Thursday night, I thought you were a little too critical about that thing. It would have been nice if you had to ask me one more question. So to build that emotional intelligence and that maturity and that adult relationship, I think that's pretty cool. It's got to be a weekly agenda item.
Yeah. Hey, Bruce, you touched on something there that Nathan and I are really passionate about being the change and taking accountability and an awareness that if you want something different, the thing that you have the most control over is you and you making the change. So to say thank you, we've given a month's worth of early childhood education to a class of children in Kenya. We know that if they get a really strong early education, they've got much more likelihood of moving on to primary school and then that education flowing on for the rest of their lives. So that project is looked after by an organisation called So They Can, and we've made that possible via our partnership with Buy One, Give One. So thank you so much.
Nice. I did see your B1G1 commitment.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. No, that's nice. We had a cafe where we linked up with Paul and B1G1 and very good. Congratulations on that, because not a lot of organisations have any sense of anything else other than what they're doing. So
yeah, it's a really big part of what we're doing is the contribution to, I guess, the world in these conversations and education, but also the greater world, people that we'll never meet and will never know what Date Forever podcast is all about.
So Bruce, if people want to connect with you or learn a little bit more about what you do, how should they do that?
The easiest way is via the web, brucesullivan.com. That's the easiest way to track me down. Or you can go to Facebook, despite being 55. I actually have a Facebook account, Bruce Sullivan, Your Best You. So that's the other way people can find us as well.
Awesome.
Yeah,
thank you so much for joining us, Bruce.
It's a pleasure. Best of luck and congratulations on what you guys are doing too.
Thanks heaps for joining us. If you love what we're doing here and want more, subscribe to the Date Forever podcast to make sure you never miss an ep. Come and hang out with us and other awesome couples who are fueling up their relationships in the Thriving Couples Collective Facebook group, or check us out at fuelcollective.com.au. Until next time, keep on dating, because better relationships equal a better world.